Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 233 of The Ball is Round. My name is Andy Coronado, and tonight on the show, we react to CF Montreal's letters to its fan, CF Montreal's victory against the New England Revolution, and last but not least, Roses FC victory against the Calgary Wild FC. We'll answer all your questions, so make sure to put your take in the chat as well. But before I proceed, as always, I'm joined tonight by Mr. Elias Grigoriadis. Messed it up again. What's good, my man? How you doing?
God, when was the last time we had such a good news pod, man?
Oh, it's a
I'm
good news.
doing wonderfully. The sun
Happy
is
birthday.
shining. Yeah, it's humid
Happy
as
birthday.
hell,
Happy
but
birthday. Happy
thank you very
birthday.
much. Yes, CF Montreal with a very appropriate and timely birthday present. I will never say no to that. And yeah, man,
Yeah, I
good
mean,
weekend so
you
far.
talk about good news. Yeah, there were victories, um, but we obviously have to start with the elephant in the room, if you want, right? The big letter, right?
Yeah.
So again, guys, please don't hesitate to put your comments or whatever it is that you want on the chat, and we're gonna go ahead and good evening, Mr. Patrick, and good evening, Mr. David. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Before we get started, guys, just a quick reminder that if you listen to the show and like what you hear, click on the subscribe button to support the Ballers Run Montreal. While you're at it, make sure to also subscribe to all of our social media platforms for daily updates and anything else. You can go on Instagram, you can go on Blue Sky X on our personal accounts, and make sure to get the day to day. All right, let's get right into it. Topic of the week, Elias. CF Montreal issued a letter that was signed by Gabriel Gervais, Lucas Saputo, and Simone Saputo a day before the summer transfer window. Now, we're sharing the letter here because I do want to read it. I know everybody's read it, right? Roberto, thank you so much for joining us today. So let's go ahead and read it, right? We have the letter states, Dear fans, we have not met the standards we set for ourselves, nor those you have the right to expect. This is why we felt the need to communicate with you directly today. We share your dissatisfaction with the club's results, and it is our responsibility to build a winning team that we can all be proud of. This is why we decided to undertake a rebuild and launch a new chapter at CF Montreal, a chapter based on the ambition and pride, a new era with victory at the heart of our sporting ambition while also honoring our rich history and the connection with you, our 12th player. We know that trust is regained, assuming that it's lost, is regained through actions. As such, during the upcoming transfer windows, you will see concrete steps, a committed team, and strong initiatives aimed at rebuilding together a club that deserves your loyalty. Tous ensemble, droit devant. So, looking at this letter, Elias, what was your, forget the time. I don't even care if it was 5 p.m., 5 a.m. You wake up in the morning, you know, you're probably excited about the birthday celebrations that are coming up. I know I'm just waiting for Friday to kick in, and then I'm excited for the transfer window too. And then I see this notification, and yeah, first thing in the morning, and I was like, "What is happening right now?" What was your thought? What went through your head? Your instant reaction when you saw it?
Well, my first thought was, um, why is this? Why am I waking up to this? But at the same time, it was very well done because everyone that got all the media organizations, everyone that got into the newsroom in the morning, the first thing on their feed was this. It was waiting for them. So yeah, if you look at the coverage of the sports landscape, not just soccer media, but the Montreal sports landscape in general, this was what everyone was talking about. Not this is Montreal Canadiens training camp is starting. That's usually topics 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, on most you know non-sports specific media channels. And so that was great, but I think LP Habs fans first 6 words is what's important, right? 3 words actually. Talk is cheap, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to regain the trust, like the letter said. At this point, it's not just a cynicism that's developed amongst Montreal fans, media, whatever. It's a learned cynicism, right? This is something that has been, besides 2022, over the last decade, has been beat into the fans. Whether it's the rebrand, whether it's missing playoffs, whether it's under delivering on teams that had the potential to go all the way, right? Because everyone points at 2022 as this like shining example of what this club could be. They still got knocked out in the first round, right? And that year they didn't even win the Canadian Championship. the year before they won the Canadian Championship. So that 2022 season that was phenomenal. You didn't have any real concrete returns, sporting wise. So I think that this was long overdue. I'm very curious specifically in the wording of the new chapter, because for the last 6 or 7 years now, 6 years, they've branded themselves as un club formateur, as a developmental club, as we take in young talent, young promising talent, and get them ready for the next stage of the career, all while being competitive. The last part of that sentence has failed.
Failed.
But the other part of that sentence, and we'll talk about it in a bit more depth later in the show, but that's been to a certain degree a pretty strong success when it comes to developing young talent for the next level, whether it's national team or getting transferred to Europe. So I wonder what that aspect of club development, how prominent it will be. I don't think it will be as prominent, because if you really are planning for a full rebuild, I'm expecting you to change club philosophies a little bit. Um, but besides that, I mean, you start at zero, right? And this is them starting and saying we're wiping the slate clean, but now you have to actually back it up.
Yeah. My reaction when I saw it, I was like, first thing, I'm sorry. First thing was, oh shit. What
Yeah,
is this? I was reading it, and they stated exactly what needed to be said. Right? They said exactly what needed to be said. Guys, we are sorry. You don't deserve this. We want to rebuild. They didn't just say, I'm sorry. We're sorry that we messed this up. They said, we want to rebuild. We are taking on a rebuild. Now, any fan that follows the Montreal Canadiens, I don't follow them closely, but I do know from a distance that they took on a rebuild a few years back. And that also did shockwaves amongst the fans, where they said, well, a rebuild, what does that mean, right? I think now, if CF Montreal wants to relate more to the Montreal sports community or the fans, or maybe even the hockey fans, they can kind of understand what a rebuild consists of, right? So the biggest question comes to, though, because, as you can see in the chat, there's a lot of fans that are not, are kind of having trust issues, which they deserve it, right? Because there's trust issues with what they say they'll do. And when Sam Piet came out the next day in the press conference, he also said it. He said himself. He said the words are great. They said it, that what they said in the message, in the letter, was necessary. We needed that. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the actions that count more than the words.
yeah.
And so he himself is holding the office accountable as well for that letter that was written. And both Joel Waterman and Samuel Piet came out saying that it was a letter that they felt was necessary at this point of the season, especially two guys that have been around the club for a long time and have kind of been witness and taking part of in the downfall of this club since 2022. 2022 should have never been a one-off. It should be the standard of this club. I just find that they got someone like Wilfred Nancy that may manage to make something out of nothing, and they worked in really good cohesion with Olivier Renard and Vasily Kromazidis. And they managed to make something out of nothing. But again, it's one of those things that, okay, they're declaring rebuild on July, what was it, 23rd, right? 23rd, July 23rd, 2025. Now, the next question, Elias, becomes, will the fans be patient? How should CF Montreal fans feel about declaring this rebuild? Can they be like, oh my God, I'm excited again? I know that in the NFL in the United States, teams frequently actually declare rebuilds. The moment they have a losing season, they're like, rebuild. It can happen every 2-3 years, the rebuild, But CF Montreal fans are very, very loyal fans, and I don't think they're used to that kind of rebuild, at least not being labeled a rebuild. And so, do you think they're going to be patient to see this rebuild through? And yeah, well, what do you think?
Well, one thing, and Robbie kind of pointed it out too, in soccer, rebuild is not the same thing as a hockey
Fair
rebuild,
enough.
right? A hockey rebuild has to happen much more organically. You have to sell pieces of value to get more assets in order to then kind of start restructuring your squad. In soccer, or especially in MLS, but just practically any other league as well, the the financial rules, everything is a lot less strict, and you have a much bigger pool of players to take from. So if you have, half a dozen players that leave the club, you can bring in top level players, and then your rebuild's done. You can hit the
True.
ground running. Right? Patrick said it. Rebuild in 2 or 3 windows. That's your Montreal. The Montreal Canadiens took 3 years to rebuild
I'm not so much
completely from
comparing
the
hockey
ground up.
and
No, but
soccer.
like
Yeah.
it's just the speed with which. So a
Yeah.
patience is not really something I'm concerned with, because you can see after this window. I'm not talking about next off season. I'm talking about this very window. You can tell whether or not they're serious,
Mm,
right? And it doesn't mean doesn't mean actions that they take right now. They could announce an MLS Next Pro club tomorrow, and you'll
mm,
be like, okay, you're serious about this. They could announce a signing that's coming in, one signing, right? It's not going to change your season this year, but I could already tell, okay, you're being serious. You're not fucking around now, right?
mm.
Bring in someone like Ephraim Morales, someone like the Majidi, are very good picks that are consistent with the club's philosophy over the last 5 years. So if your philosophy is staying the same, that's one thing. But those two signings not indicate any kind of change in the status quo. No concrete actions have been taken yet since the letter to make me think, oh, we're moving now.
Yeah.
So once those announcements are made, I think we're going to get a very good idea the extent of this rebuild and the extent of their ambition. But until then, it's going to be very tough to kind of pinpoint just how high they're aiming. They'll say they're aiming as high as possible, right? That's obviously what you want to advertise, but realistically, pragmatically, there's going to be certain limits if this is the kind of window that they have. So I don't think CF Montreal fans need to be patient, because this is not going to be a years long project. This is going to be resolved, or this rebuild, not rebrand. God, this re
Whoa.
not the bad word, not the bad word, but no, this rebuild is going to either sink or swim in a year and a half. We'll know by the end of next season. We'll know whether or not this was a successful rebuild. So patience isn't really the concern right now. It's what actions are you going to take in this window to just not to give even a glimmer of hope.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think Patrick also said it really, really well. He said I would get your cornerstones, then build around them.
Mhm.
Now there's something that's a little bit mind blowing to me, because the guys that came out on the press conference, Sam Piet and Joel Waterman, they're kind of your cornerstones of the
They
club
are
right
cornerstones,
now.
absolutely.
And in football and hockey, and I think in any other sport that claims a rebuild, when a player sees that the club claims a rebuild and they're in their later stage of their careers, a lot of players say, I don't know if I can take a rebuild now in my career. I want to win today. Because a rebuild, Elias, you know this very well. Everybody knows this. A rebuild has very rough growing pains. Yes, you talked about, right away the transfer window and all that. It's gonna take another one. But in the meantime, Samuel Piet's not getting any younger. Joel Waterman is not getting any younger. I mean, some of the players that are probably going to be here for a while are not getting any younger. So like that's where it kind of like, to me, I wonder, is like, yes, you want to get your cornerstone, but at the same time, what is your cornerstone? An academy kid? No, the academy kid is going to want to go to Europe. That's what it seems to be. A 21-year-old center back? No, he's going to want to go to Europe. So what are the cornerstones that you get? A 35-year-old MLS player that has been there for in the league for 13 years? Like that's what I mean. Like, it's, yes, you want to get cornerstones, but aren't they already there? And do they agree to being part? I know Joel Waterman signed a new contract, I believe, in the offseason, and Samuel Piet 2 years before that. But both of them, captains, are they going to be able to like go through this rebuild at a later stage in their career already?
The difference is, and again, I mean this with all the respect in the world, these are not, you know,
DP players.
these are not designated player level caliber players, right? They're both cornerstones for many reasons. A, they are super reliable on the pitch. Whether or not Joel Waterman's had a bit of an up or down year, that that doesn't change the fact that he has been reliable since 2022. Samuel Piet is the definition of reliability in terms of his performances, and the fact that they're leaders. They're proven MLS caliber players. So yeah, we saw it with those few games that George Campbell and Jalen Neal played together, that the future lies with maybe Joel Waterman having a reduced role or an alternative role being the very real possibility because of how well those two are playing together. But he's still a vital part of this team, right? If Victor Laturi keeps playing at the level he's playing at, you can say, okay, you can take some of the workload off of Samuel Piet, and you could partner Victor Laturi with another ball playing central midfielder next to him. So all these things, lead to they're not as crucial where everything falls apart when they're not there anymore, but they're still cornerstones of this team. They've been here longer than practically anybody else. No, they've been here longer than anybody else, both of them. And they understand the club, they understand the city, and they're proven MLS players. Right? All these things make you a cornerstone. Making just because you're not a designated player doesn't mean you're not a cornerstone. Right? There's different values. So now, those other cornerstones you're talking about, you can't just have two. Now you go out and you get a DP in the prime of his career, healthy, super reliable, that's going to get you, 10 goals and 10 assists or 15 goals and 10 assists or whatever. And then you go out and you get another player that's going to be an absolute rock star. But you need your leadership core. You need something that ties the club to the fans, and you need personnel that's been there long enough to understand the importance of stuff that people that just got here just simply won't get. So I think all of that makes them cornerstones, but they can't be the only ones.
Yeah, and that's, I think Marco Donadel also mentioned in the press conference that one of the things that, from my understanding, is that they want to do things right. They want to integrate players right, and again, doesn't have to be the 5-star player, right? It can be a Joel Waterman and Samuel Piet that understand the city. And just an example, I mentioned before the show, Elias, today I spent the day in the Go Initiatives, the fundraiser, and Joel Waterman and Bryce Duke were there. And that's something that shows, to me, in my opinion, it shows Joel Waterman's involvement in the community and the understanding of the importance, because he's interacting with local Montrealers and they're obviously wanting to take pictures with him. He's understanding what they're saying. I don't know if he speaks any French. I don't think so, but he, and the same goes for Samuel Piet. He's present everywhere, and be it media or business promotions, whatnot. So very, very important, because a lot of these kids that are doing the jump to this club and whatever time they're going to spend in CF Montreal. George Campbell, before he made the big jump, was here for 3 years, I believe, 3 seasons. So he also needed a little bit of adaptation to the city, and it must have helped to have players like them that really can guide him around. So very, very important thing. And now the only thing that, to me, kind of, I'm wondering, because we did talk about the players, but do you think Marco Donadel's the guy to lead this team through a rebuild? Or would you want a more, like, say, experienced coach, someone that maybe has done a rebuild, a Bruce Arena, a Jim Curtin,
Yeah. Look, I here's the thing with Marco Donadel, and I kind of do feel bad for him in a sense. The squad he's been given, it's very tough with the amount of injuries and stuff like that that's happening. It's very tough to challenge for playoffs with what he's been given and the kind of hand he's been dealt. So was I expecting wooden spoon territory? Absolutely not. But if you're expecting this team to challenge for the playoffs right now, when you have Jalen Neal that can't stay fit, Fabian Herbers that can't stay fit, Jack Morfioni that can't stay fit, there's a whole lot of those 3 players are have proven to be starters, right? First names on the team sheet here. It's not like, oh, I'm missing some depth players, so that makes squad rotation difficult. No, this is your best 11. All 3 of those guys are on your best 11. So not having them around for extended amounts of time, it's difficult. If they want to give Marco Donadel a fighting chance this window, they bring in like Dave said, where they bring in 2 or 3 players, serious players that are going to make you not contenders, but make you serious playoff team in MLS. And then you say, Marco, I've brought you some good top quality players, coach and prove to me that you're the guy for this project. Then fine. You could say you've got 10 games left, make it end the League's Cup, make it work. If you continue with this current squad, you don't really have a basis to understand what Marco Donadel can do with a competitive team, with a top tier team. So it's kind of rough to judge his coaching quality based on just that. Has he made some mistakes? Has he made some calls that have gone over poorly? He's admitted to it, right? He said some calls I made haven't been the best. Some calls he's made have gone over incredibly well. But you can't judge his team. You can't judge his ability to coach a competitive playoff MLS team because he hasn't been given one. So that's kind of unfair for him. But if you're not going to give him a team, you may as well just confirm that he's leaving at the end of the season and start your coaching hunt now.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too, right? Because Marco Donadel, we will never know how great of a coach he is if he's not given dealt the right hand. I mean, how many times have we seen in the NBA coaches that have gone on to win championships just because they were dealt a fantastic hand, but the moment some injuries went down, they didn't know what to do. So it's hard to say that no, Marco Donadel is not the coach for this team. Right now, I think he's made something with the pieces. I mean, we're gonna get right into it, but like in a bit. But he just led the team through to a victory at New England. Against a very talented team, because New England is a talented team, and we'll get into it. But I don't know how many times I think every press conference he must say 2 or 3 times. Either he's asking clearly for new players, or he's saying that he's playing with an emergency. There's an emergency. This is an emergency. That's what he says. Everything I'm doing is an emergency because that's just the position I'm in. And so it's almost like, in a sense, he's like, say, guys, like, we just lost whatever it is, but I'm just kind of trying to deal with everything. And we'll get into it. Just last question for you, Elias. How are you feeling today about the direction this team has decided to go? Are you excited? Are you like, here we
I
go
don't know enough
again?
about the direction of the club, right? As far as taking accountability, the the club did a great job. They took accountability. They said, "Mea culpa. This is not what was supposed to happen. We made a mistake, and we will actively take measures to fix it." Until we know it from the horse's mouth, I don't want to hear reports and this and that, because I need it from the horse's mouth. I need an actual commitment from the front office of this club, whether it's a Saputo brother or it's Gabriel Jalvet or it's Joey himself. Until one of them come up and say, "This is what we're doing. We're still a developmental club. We're putting developmental club as a secondary until they give us a list of all the stuff they plan to do and what their absolute objective is, besides winning. Everyone wants to win. Nobody gives a shit. But then I can kind of say, okay, this is how I feel about that. This is how I feel about that. Until then, there's a whole lot of unanswered questions, which is why I think Gabriel Gervais needs to come in front of the media sooner rather than later, because they still have this buzz. This entire week, they've dominated the media cycle. They had the letter, and then they won. So you did two good things in a row, which is still kind of, that hasn't happened this season. So now you have to follow up by having a press conference in front of the media where you can now expand on your letter. If you don't, this is going to feel like a missed opportunity, because the Habs are starting, the Alouettes are still good, the Roses are still good, Victoire are going to start soon, and you're going to start falling down the pecking order. So you need to stay present and you need to stay
Relevant.
ambitious.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I know Patrick, though, you did send us Pat, you did send us a question. They talk the talk, now they need to walk the walk. Do you think they will make any significant additions to help end the season on a good note and to prepare for next year? They pretty much have to now, otherwise the letter is meaningless. I agree with you. They have to, and Elias touched on it a little bit, right? We're going to be watching closely here on the show. I know I'm going to be watching, and yes, they do have to make additions. Forget about wins and losses. There has to be, Elias, you said it so well. What direction? Every signing explains something for this team. Every signing, every release, every buyout, every whatever. It means something for this team. You have to analyze it, and not necessarily by, again, wins or losses. Just, what does this signing define? Right now, Elias, all we have is, like you mentioned, the Thomas Gillier, the from on loan from Bologna FC, a fourth goalkeeper until the end of the season, a fourth goalkeeper, and then the 21-year-old central defender. Efrain Morales from Atlanta United. Again, young players, potential. You're expecting them to grow. Can you? Is it any new direction than what it was before? Not right now. Those two signings don't tell us much of anything besides another player with potential that literally Efrain is literally wearing the same jersey number as George Campbell. So it goes to show just like where we're at. And I think Ismael
It's
Koné did.
destiny, man.
Yeah, I think Jules Antoniva saying tried to do the same thing with Ismael Koné. They're wearing the same number. Didn't work out, obviously. But yeah, so that's where we kind of and I can tell you this, Elias, there will be a press conference by Lucas Saputo after the market. I know that for sure, and because the timing of it wouldn't have made sense before the letter or after the letter. They want to
Exactly,
release
and
the,
and yeah,
you know,
and Dave kind of put it out there, right? I feel like the fans have heard enough from Gabriel Jove. We've seen the song and dance. It was very interesting that Lucas Saputo was kind of the main character of their video that they dropped right after the letter. Which means, yeah, you're probably, I mean, you're right. Like Lucas Saputo very well could be the one to take the reins publicly, so to speak.
he
So
will.
I'd be very interested to have him in front of the media, have him answer some tough questions because again, this is one hell of a way to kind of start your media debut. Is to kind of face the questions after the season you've had and after the claims you're making. So I'm very interested to see how he handles that, how he handles frankly just all the scrutiny possible. So I think that I'm very excited to hear from him, and I can't wait for when they announce that because it's going to be standing room only. I think everyone's going to want to hear from the heir to the throne.
Um, I know we're gonna be listening into it, and we're probably gonna be asking the questions as well, right? I mean, it's necessary. We need answers, and I think right
Mhm.
now he must be getting some media training like
He's
crazy
probably
of what
getting
the
media
question.
trained since birth. This guy,
Yeah, because it's going to come. All the big questions are gonna come at him.
absolutely.
Um, So we're gonna move on to happier news, right? Friday night, Elias's birthday. Let's talk about your birthday, Elias. No, let's not talk about it. All right, guys. Before we move on to the game, quick reminder to click on the subscribe button on whichever platform you're listening to us from. If you like what you hear, make sure to follow us on all social media platforms for daily updates on everything CF Montreal, Roses FC, and Canada Soccer. While you're at it, make sure to also follow Elias and I in every platform. One follow or subscription to our Patreon page helps out the show a lot. And thank you guys all for having signed up. We'll move on. CF Montreal had a
Yeah.
victory Friday night versus the New England Revs, 3-1. Let's go ahead and show the lineup to start. So at goal, we had Jonathan Sirois. In the back line, we had Fernando Alvarez, Brandon Craig. Right back, we had David Bugai. Then we had Alexander Guboglu, Bryce Duke, Joel Waterman, Victor Lattori, Kaden Clark, Dante Seeley, and Giacomo Briani. I don't think so. There was an update there that Prince Owusu came, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, Prince Owusu started at the 9. What'd you think? What'd you think when you saw that lineup? Obviously, we learned very quickly, and everybody was kind of scattering around when Giacomo Briani was a scratch. But what'd you think in general of that lineup when you saw it?
I'm not surprised anymore. I mean, these are people, the people that have a chance to play next year are the people you expect to be in the starting lineup. Those that are not in the starting lineup or not even in the squad sheet, the writing's kind of on the wall here. Um, yeah, the starting 11. I mean, Luca Petrasso and David Bugay have been running nonstop basically for the last like 4 months. Have just been playing full 90s, and um, yeah, podcast day, absolutely.
Let's go.
But yeah, they've been doing full 90s basically nonstop since Marco Donadel took over. So I'm not at all surprised that one of them per game is getting a rest. Plus Alexander Guboglu has been okay. He's been doing all
Yeah.
right. He's been trying really hard. The work rate is there. So look, if the work rate is there, then the rest will come. I think he's obviously talented enough to hold his own, but he's still 18 and he's got to get a chance. So I wasn't too surprised by this lineup. I was a little bit surprised that Hanai Sintrick didn't get another start, but it is Gillette Stadium and that field is diabolical. So I'm also not too surprised that maybe he was saved as a super sub.
Yeah, well, I was a little bit surprised actually, like because I was like, well, this lineup is really going to tell me how they're looking, how they're viewing the Leagues Cup. Are they really like, are they saving it all for that, or or are they still going to fight in MLS and try to become the party poopers of the MLS? Because to me, you may laugh at it, but that's what CF Montreal's role has become in the MLS today. Is we are party poopers. We are going to try to do everything we can to ruin other people's chances to get a spot that they want, because there's very little to no chance that we make it to a playoffs, mathematically speaking. And if you speak to the players, they still believe, and that's perfectly fine. But I was surprised that say if Giacomo Verona would have started, that they actually started him this game. I thought they would have kept him for Leagues Cup. But beyond that, I was happy to see Luca Petrasso get a rest, but that meant that Alexander Guboglu will go to the left back, which was again very surprising to me. But yeah, I was pretty surprised. But let's go ahead and get right into it. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about the defense and goalkeeping, including the subs. So in defense, as I mentioned, we had David Bugay, we had Alexander Guboglu, and Fernando Alvarez and Brandon Craig. What did you think of the back line? I'm just gonna look at, because I forgot the subs of the game there. But what were
Oh,
your thoughts on the back line?
defensively, it was just Luca Petrasso that subbed in.
That's something. Okay, perfect. So we'll talk about Luca Perchas also coming in, because he had an assist late in the game, right? Which to
Yeah, he
Wojciech
was
score. So
excellent.
yeah, and he's something else, man. That guy, Luca Petros is another level. But what were your thoughts on the back line? What did you think of Fernando Alvarez, Brandon Craig, that dynamic of the two, how it's building up?
Uh, that dynamic is still kind of weird to me. They don't look like they're comfortable together.
They're
I,
not.
I appreciate that Fernando Alvarez is a bit more focused in the last was a bit more focused on Friday night. His performance has been super inconsistent, and I think that he showed his better side, especially after they conceded. I think that kind of woke everybody up, and that entire back line was working much better. But honestly, Alexander Guboglu as a left back, I didn't understand it. I would have rather, even play Fernando Alvarez at left back. Have someone naturally left footed that's played in that position. Guboglu kind of looked out of position all the time. And that's what happens when somebody doesn't play at all, then plays in a position they've basically never played before on their weak side. It didn't seem to fit. The second he stepped up into a forward role, he looked more comfortable.
Hmm.
And so honestly, I don't again, I'm expecting in this transfer window for them to bring in a fullback just for depth reasons, because again, you can't just survive with two fullbacks in MLS, you're gonna die. But having someone in will also kind of take that fullback responsibility off of Alexander Guboglu. And I want to see him as a forward. I think he'd be a very capable rotational forward in the next year or two, and that's got to be his role. I don't want to see him as a fullback anymore, because it's not his spot, and we can tell it. He knows it. Other teams know it as well. He got targeted a lot, so yeah, that's what I want to see. And as for Brandon Craig and Dav Bugai, it's so reliable. That's so reliable, and I love it. Dave talking about he wants to see Sealy at left back. I get it, and that's why I really liked what I saw when he played as a wing back when under Laurent Courtois. But the problem with Dante Sealy at fullback as a proper left back, his defensive work rate is not there.
Is not good.
His
No.
defensive work rate is nowhere near. And you had Luca Petrasso playing behind you in the back five, who is the definition of defensive work rate. That's fine. He'll make up for the gaps. But when you are on an island by yourself, essentially at left back, and you have a lot more space to be tasked with, I don't know. That scares me a lot. And Alfonso Davies has the same problem. The only difference is he's got world class center backs to back him up, and so it's a different story. But I see the vision, Dave. I see the vision, but I I, I don't see the vision.
I see Dante Sealy as so much more like as a either left middle or right middle, because the way I've seen him play in Chicago and against New England, where Henry Centro goes on the top and pretty much takes up that right winger position and allows Dante Sealy really less offensive, less offensive responsibility and more of a defensive, say, has to stay in the middle and help out with the defense with David Bugai. I really like him there because I think he does really well. Now in the final third, though, Dante City is another story. Now we're gonna get to the forwards. I know we're talking about the defense, and I really do like, as you mentioned, it's kind of strange to see Fernando Alvarez, Craig play together, because I do think that they are very different styles in playing. I think they're I want to say almost similar profiles, but at the same time that don't necessarily work together, but they manage to work together. And especially with a missing Samuel Piet, who usually it goes all the way down to the center back position to start the play. Um, I think that they've done really well. Brandon Craig is playing, has been given the responsibility and has really taken his chance to really start making a name for himself in that right back. Now, there's still moments where I question. You can see that he's a little bit awkward, a little bit still maybe doubting himself because he's still very, very young. But he's taken on that responsibility. And honestly, Elias, I'm very excited for Brandon Craig. He might be, besides Prince Owusu, one of the steals of the offseason for CF Montreal. I think he's got a lot of decent potential. And if CF Montreal continues to be patient and developing him, assuming there's not going to be any any other center back signings in the offseason, we have no idea what they see from Efrain Alvarez, if he's a starter right away or how far away he is. But Brendan Craig has, to me, in my opinion, has made a case for himself to, as you mentioned, start for 2026 or be a very important role in that back line. So David Bugai, as always, has been very consistent this season, the right back. I think he's profiting majorly of having Henry Sinjak on his side. I think he's the one that's probably the happiest because they seem to play off each other really, really well. But it's like David Bugai needs a Henry Sinjak to really develop his offensive side, because when it's Dante Sealy, it's tricky, man. It's tricky because they both seem to not really understand what the other wants, even though they both understand their own role. They don't know. It doesn't look like they necessarily know how to work off of each other. So I can see that Marco Donadel has made a very, very big effort to make play go more towards the right side. It looks like it's very, very much focused on that end, and that's where David Bugai is taking advantage. But not with Dante Sealy. I think Dante Sealy has trouble connecting with him. But defensively, I still think that David Bugai is probably one of the better ones in the team. And as you mentioned, Alexander Guboglu, it's very it's kind of worrisome a little bit sometimes to see how vulnerable he can be on defense. But I will give this to him. I think when Marco Donadel speaks of emergency, I think he's speaking specifically about situations like Alexander Guboglu, where he is being played left back when he is not a natural left back. And then just to kind of move on from this topic, there are currently 4 goalkeepers on the roster. We mentioned a little bit earlier. Do you think Sirois' performances have justified him to continue starting? I mean, do you think that that because there was that rumor that Tom Boger rumor that linked him to maybe to move to Europe? I'm actually very, very impressed with how Jonathan Sirois has developed in this scheme of Marco Donadel. What are your thoughts on his performances the last few months?
I mean, it's always, what have you done for me lately? Jonathan Sirois has been decent, right? He hasn't replicated what we saw from him 2 years ago, where he was arguably one of the best shot stoppers in the entire league. But he's proven himself to be a reliable MLS level keeper. Now, if a team in Ligue 2 who's looking to get up to Ligue 1 looks at him and says, "I want you," the club would, I feel like the club would happily part ways with him if it meant, like, a cool million, 1.5 in your pocket, and then you kind of turn to another keeper who is MLS level. Then absolutely, right? Thomas Gillier basically automatically leapfrog Sebastian Breza as the second goalkeeper. I feel like Daniel Gazdov, once he gets his feet underneath him and adjusts to MLS life, will become the third keeper. And I feel like Sebastian Breza is going to kind of be not left out in the cold because that's not the right term, but like he will kind of be the odd one out because it seems like everyone that was brought into the club was brought in for a reason. Every keeper that was brought into the club was brought in for a reason. Dan Gazdov was the best goalie. It was one of the best goalies in the CPL. Thomas Gillier was earned a Bologna signing and he's here on loan. Sebastian Breza was here in a support role, right? Everyone knew why he was here right away. So, he's our new Logan Ketterer. No, I mean, he's better than Logan Ketterer, right? But to a certain extent, he's great in training. He's a great energy guy. He's a great glue guy. And I think that, having a player like that in the locker room is never a bad thing. But if he's starting to get in the way of younger, more promising keepers, then, space needs to be made.
Yeah. No, I think that he should take that leap for his career. I think it'll be important for him to go to Europe, and also, I think it'll kind of create that for the club to continue that philosophy of like, look, even our goalkeepers will go to Europe. They have the potential too. But yeah, it's important for. I think Sirois personally has impressed me with his performance. I think I used to criticize him a lot on this podcast about his distribution, but I think it's gotten a lot better. He seems to be a lot more confident in his distribution, so I think that's important. But let's go ahead and move on to the midfield where we had Victor Lotori, and Joel Waterman. And then we had subs as well, right? So we had Alger Escobar. So we'll include Bryce Duke in the midfield as well, who was playing kind of false 10. And then we had Alger Escobar come in as a sub, as well as I believe it was Henadi Senchuk went to the right side. So we'll talk more about that in the attack. But what were your thoughts on the midfield? Because it seems like, man, I don't know, man. Victor Lotori, you mentioned that he plays really, really well. But there are moments, and I don't want to blame it completely on him because it's a team effort, right? And especially I feel like the last three games, there's been a lot of a lot of the goals have kind of gone on him. They've been through him, and he looks tired, honestly. What do you think of Victor Lotori and Joel Waterman's combination there in the mid?
Honestly, I like it. I hate to admit it, but I really like it, man. Joel Waterman has some holes in his game. That is no doubt. One of them being his athleticism. You put someone like Victor Lotori, who, yeah, I think the minutes are finally starting to weigh on him, especially because I don't think he expected to be this busy during the season. Nathan Silva is gone and Samir Piet's gone. That's going to happen. Obviously, there's one traditional defensive midfielder left on the team, and it's him. So I understand why he's looking like the minutes are catching up to him. But the partnership of him and Joe Waterman together complements each other so well. Victor Lotori makes up for where Joe Waterman lacks, and vice versa. Joe Waterman has a finesse and the ability on the ball that Victor Lotori doesn't necessarily have yet. Remember, right? He gave the ball up in the build up to the first goal. Right, he could have gotten rid of the ball earlier, or he could have just cleared his lines when he was under pressure. He didn't either. Lose the ball, instant counterattack, and I'm not excusing the back line who were just caught with their pants down, but Victor Lotori losing the ball in the middle of the park, going against traffic, you're handcuffing your defense. So obviously, he's 23, still has a lot to learn about the MLS game, and he still has to, but you played in Scotland, right? It's not like you've been playing CPL and you're making the jump now. You've already made the jump, and now you're coming to. It feels like a lateral move at times, Scotland and the MLS. So yeah, there's definitely still holes in the game that need to be fixed, but the partnership between the two of them, especially after that goal, I really liked it. I really liked it. They shut down everything. They limited Carlos Gil, which is already in and of itself a Herculean task because he's still, at his age, he's still one of the best natural 10s in MLS. I'd argue he's probably the best natural 10 in all of MLS, him and maybe Evander. So, yeah, credit where credit is due. It was a terrible first 3 minutes, and then it was a really solid next 87. They've got a huge task on Tuesday against Club Leon because someone named James Rodriguez might show up. That'll be another interesting challenge in and of itself. But honestly, their game, man, I dig it. And if Samuel Piet, they probably saw that and said, we don't need to rush Samuel Piet back anymore because there's someone that they've recreated him in the aggregate. And Victor Laturi's taken his game to a whole other level this year. So you know what? If it ain't broke, I mean, look, I'm not gonna say if it ain't broke because you're in last place. It's obviously broke. But if it's not actively horrifying, don't fix it.
It's very, very broke. And it's and just kind of give us a little chime. What you think of Bryce Duke's performance in the game? All right, thank you so much, Elias.
I want this to work so damn bad. I mean, anyone who's listened to the show for the last year and a half knows how badly I want this to work because I love Bryce Duke. He just he was not able to put his stamp on the game. He wasn't able to get involved. He couldn't establish a rhythm. He had a couple nice turns. He had a couple of good moments, but again, it's not there. It's not clicking. And yeah, he's just coming back now and his rhythm is all messed up. I get that. But there's no hunger. There's no, Robbie, the bar. Have you seen the season? The bar is in hell, man. But yeah, I think exactly right. Bryce Duke has it's just it hasn't worked out. And I said it as a joke, but it turned out to be true. But Ariel Lassiter was the better acquisition between the two of them. And he was kind of added in as a here you go. So yeah, it's unfortunate because I love Bryce Duke's skill set and I love Bryce Duke's game, but he has not been able to get a single bounce going his way. And I get it. Your team's full of injured players, but he's not a starting player right now, not at all.
I do want to say, guys, those that are listening to us and watching us, I know that usually we do the podcast for around an hour, and we try to keep it at that. But it's been a heavy week with the letter news, so we're sorry if we go a little bit over the time. Thank you so much for staying with us because Elias, the letter topic was a big one, so we needed to talk about it. So it's not every week that the administration sends a letter like that to the fans. So it needed to be spoke on because it made waves around the league. So just wanted to thank you guys for staying with us, and we'll try to go through because we have a lot of good stuff coming up to it as well in the latter part of the show. But yeah, speaking of the midfield, I felt like with Victor Laturi's fatigue, it looks like it is fatigue. I think he did play a good game, and Joel Waterman also played a decent game. The only thing that I can't stop thinking about is that every time Joel Waterman seems to get angry or disagrees with something, you never know if he's going to get another yellow or get himself expelled for the game because he really does. He's like a firecracker. Like you really don't know what to expect of him. And we've seen him in the past do very, very questionable decisions that led him to be expelled from the game. And that's the kind of thing that you say you can't miss from a center back or a defensive midfielder because already CF Montreal has half of Samuel Piet. He's not. I don't even know if Samuel Piet right now is at 50%. He might be even at 40. He's not well. But he's still trying to play. But he's obviously not himself. He's admitted it. He's been very transparent about it. And I think Laturi has had to carry a lot of that load in the game, and I think it's starting to weigh on him. And at times, like you mentioned, there are certain passes or certain decisions that he's making. I'm almost 90% convinced that in this transfer window, the team will get a new midfielder, maybe two, because again, that is an emergent situation. Now, how is that going to affect Laturi's role in there? Is it going to affect it? Is it going to take Waterman out and make him a backup as a center back? We don't know. A lot of questions to be answered this transfer window. But you pointed something out, Elias, and I should have pulled up the tweet there. You mentioned about Herbert's being out injured because he got injured in the Chicago game. I know that was last week. We didn't talk about it, but he got injured. He pulled a muscle, and we still to this day, I don't know if you have an update. We don't have an update as to what the severity of that injury is, but he was out last game. It almost felt like the game where he got injured, the Chicago game, which was a homecoming for him, I think. Yes, was it here? I forgot. Anyways, it was playing against his former employer, and you know that there's that extra motivation, and it's just one of those random runs that he originally got injured in that he got re-injured in, and it's just like, damn, that really sucks because he's not young anymore, right? And it's just he hasn't been able to play Elias. The stats show it, right? So it is a little bit worrisome. Yeah, how do you think this goes forward moving forward? How do you think this goes for the midfield?
You have to get another six in. You have to get a defensive midfielder, and you have to get a box to box midfielder, and you have to get a 10 in. You have to get a whole lot of people in. Most pressing right now is a box to box midfielder, absolutely, but you need to almost get like a full rotation of midfielders of every kind, especially if Marco Donadel insists on playing on a 4-2-3-1. So yeah, I think that at the top of your list is a box to box, so they can kind of do everything. Kind of like an engine. You just need someone that can link up play, someone that can move the ball well, someone that can be effective in all three phases of play. But ultimately, need somebody that stays healthy.
Yeah.
Need somebody that stays healthy because it doesn't, like, again, Vrioni, Neil, Herbers, all excellent players in their own right, all vital players in their own right. They're not on the field. Doesn't matter how good they are. You could have Messi. You could have the reincarnation of Pelé. He's not available. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Dave saying wasn't changing the phase of the team supposed to lead to healthy players. A lot of stuff was supposed to lead to a lot of stuff, Dave. It did not work. You are correct.
This is why we declared it a rebuild.
I mean, Vrioni's injury was a freak accident to his elbow and the tendons and ligaments or whatever, and so like that's kind of outside the control. But muscular injuries that they've already had, like how are they re-injuring themselves? Why are they coming back so early? Why is this not being vetted? Like, there's no way this is a coincidence. He's been injured more times this season than he has in 6 years in Chicago.
Doesn't make any sense.
Six,
Yeah. And you can
right?
talk about emergency.
It
You're
makes
talking about
no
overused.
sense.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's not
No,
even being overused. He's not staying healthy long enough to be overused. None
but
of them are
not
staying
him. The guys that are
any
starting are being overused.
real Neil and Herbers, none of them have been used enough. None of them have been healthy long enough for them to claim overuse. You play 3 games straight, that's not overuse. That's not how that works. You've got the fullbacks playing full 90s where they're running 12 kilometers a game for like 2 months straight. Right, and I get it. People have different physiognomy. Physiologically speaking, people are different. I understand that, right? It's not the same thing, but it's like, you know, that's not even a concern. It's the second they come back that they get hurt again.
Yeah.
So it boggles the mind. And I'm not an athletic therapist. This is, it doesn't matter how many years I spent doing physio. I'm not a physio, and so I cannot speak to the competence of people. But from the outside looking in, it's mind-boggling how this keeps happening, and it's the same injuries and it's the same guys. So what's not clicking?
They have to rebuild everything from the bottom up, including preseason and 7 games on the road. But let's go ahead and I did want to mention one thing. Bryce Duke, okay. He has, in my opinion, a lethal first touch, lethal one touch pass. One touch pass, if he sees it, if it's there and it's clear, I think it is his greatest asset. But it's the moment that he has to hold the ball for more than 2 seconds and think where he has to pass, that he's slow to get to that pass, or just doubts himself and just goes back. And it's like, we talk about Tom Pierce only being able to do one thing in his game, which is cross the ball. Well, Bryce Duke only has one face to his game, and it's that one touch that again is lethal. It was he was part of the first goal where it started with his one touch with back and forth with Dante Sealy. But you can't have CF Montreal can't have players that have one thing that goes well for them. They need players that can impact the game in different manners. And Bryce Duke I don't think he's there anymore. I don't know if it's a CF Montreal thing, that maybe he needs a change, maybe a different team, a different scheme, maybe a fresh start somewhere else. But he doesn't seem to be figuring it out, at least in Montreal. So let's move on to the attack, where we had Prince Owosu, Caden Clark, and Dante Sealy on the right. And as subs, we had a Henadi Sinchuk and Oger Escobar come in as to replace what I would say he replaced. Yeah, Caden Clark, I guess. I'm not really on the left side, but on the middle. yeah, what'd you think of that talk? First of all, whoa. Imagine being Prince Owosu has says, I finally have some rest to be able to do on the bench. And then it's
This
like,
poor guy, man.
let's go. You're back at it and you're about to play 90 minutes. Like,
Actually,
oh, do I
you're
get a
playing another 90. Get back on the field. What are you doing? Get out of here.
I mean, look, I've heard the whole Frioni thing. I'm not gonna laugh at it because it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because I am hearing that based on what I'm hearing, it does seem something that is worrisome because there's going to be exams that are going to be done. Um, it is an injury, but at this point, you start questioning everything about the Frioni dossier. Like, is it a flop? Is it a flop of a signing at this point with all these injuries? Is it, as we mentioned earlier, is it the doctors? Is it the team? What's going on? Like it just doesn't. Yeah, it's in the curse because we laughed about it,
Ooh.
right? The Lassi Lapalainen that he actually got hurt in warm-ups for the Columbus Crew. We kind of laughed about it, right? But
Did you
it's
really?
happening. Yeah. Well, this was
Who
earlier
laughed
this
at that?
season.
Why would you screw us like this?
but but yeah, so that's unfortunate, and honestly, hope he gets back on his feet ASAP. But it's really it's starting to make. I'm sure maybe people are pointing fingers at each other because again, there were mixed messages before the game that he was still available on the bench but not playing. But then I confirmed it again that he is injured, and no idea what the gravity of the injury is. But as you mentioned, Elias, earlier, the field in New England is horrendous, and any player
Yeah.
that is fragile in the knees or ankles or anything of that sort should be taking a break from that field. But what'd you think of the attack with Prince Owusu as the replacement?
It's one of those. It's starting to become like a meme at this point. Like no matter how well he plays, he gets a goal, right? And
Crazy.
he played really well. Yes, on Friday. I'm not gonna. This is not an implication that he played poorly, but it's become one of those things over the last like 2 months, good or bad. He gets his goal. He at the very least he gets his goal, and it's that kind of dependability that you need in a striker, right? He has become one of Montreal's best players over the last 2 months, just because of the fact that he's it's not like he's scoring tap-ins anymore. He's scoring good goals. It's not like that
Yes.
that goal against Atlanta or a goal against who was it against Chicago? Where it's kind of just like he's alone for the net and he puts it in the net. Cool, good job.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
he's making his own goals, right? He's making something out of nothing. He's turning a half chance into a goal scoring opportunity, and he, this is the kind of confidence that you expect from someone who came into the season with this much to prove. And we were talking about it on this show when it got really bad, when he got booed off the pitch against Philly at home, right? When it was at the worst it could possibly get. This is a confidence thing, right? And yeah, Dave and I are finally on the same side when people were calling him the second coming of Chinonzo 04. Yeah, you guys are all idiots. You know, like there was never like if you said it actually seriously, like a lot of people said it as a joke because they have a similar profile and they both had trouble finishing. Like I get it, but if you genuinely thought that they were the same level, then you're get your head checked because Prince Owusu was already doing way more than Shanzo 4 was. And Prince Owusu, when he's confident and he's feeling himself and he's almost just like he's kind of not reluctantly, but he's like, I'm putting this team, this attack on my back and I'm doing something with it. It's the best version you're going to get out of him. And he should have had a brace. Hennady Sinchuk and Oher Escobar set him up on a platter and he hit the post, which is unlucky.
Yeah.
But he had a really good game. I want to talk about Dante Sealy because honestly, yeah, the goal was nice, but when you have someone like Hennady Sinchuk on your team, he needs to start every single game he can physically, right? So Dante Sealy was at his best when he was a super sub. He would come on with like 20 minutes left, and he would be a spark plug, and he would just energize everything. And he needs to go back to that because over the course of 80 minutes or however long he plays, the energy is not consistent enough, the delivery and the execution is not consistent enough, but the speed and the directness is there. That is all the markings of a super sub. Get him off the bench, get him coming off the bench, and he's going to be so much more lethal. But what I saw from Harry Sinchuk and Orher Escobar on that right in the middle and the combinations that they're already doing, this is this is the kind of thing that you build around. We're talking about cornerstones.
Youthful ignorance. Youthful ignorance.
Pretty much, right? They're playing as if they have no weight on their shoulders because they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. They didn't come into the season with any pressure. They didn't come into now that their performances both with club and or country have shown that they deserve to have a bit more pressure put on them because they're delivering, doesn't mean that they have it. And they're kind of just playing like kids. They're going out there and enjoying themselves. And they single-handedly buried the game. Not single-handedly, but they pretty much by themselves, they buried the game. They secured the 3 points. And that goal from Orher Escobar, the finish, was spectacular. But what they did to create just like 2 or 3 more chances on top of that, I love it. I love it. And so I don't care who's on the left. You need to go out there and buy a proper left winger. I'm not talking about Caden Clark, who manages to step out wide, or a Fabian Herbers, who can maybe guide a left winger, but you need a proper 1v1 specialist that can combine with a fullback and could provide some kind of variety in attack. Because right now on the left-hand side, there is nothing. It's a ghost town. And so without that, you're becoming too one-dimensional, and better defenses are going to give you a terrible time. So yeah, I need, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. I want to see Escobar and Sinchuk start together behind Prince Owusu, and that would make my season. Honestly, do that for the rest of the season, I'm okay, no matter what happens.
Yeah, and I agree with you. You know what, Prince Owusu, as much as I think he's been on fire, creating his own, almost in a selfish manner, creating his own goals, and knowing in the back of his mind that maybe with the potential return of Giacomo Vrioni from injury, or whenever it is that he comes back, his spot might be taken, as we saw on Friday nights. It was technically taken, but we can call it as him getting some rest. But the truth of the matter is that Prince Owusu has been creating his own goals, and he's been really, really good in front of the goal. But if you look at the full 90 minutes, Prince Owusu also has some very infuriating moments where he just doesn't make the right choice, doesn't make the right pass, might be a little bit too physical and making unnecessary fouls. But at the end of the day, Elias, what makes it to the highlight reel is not those infuriating moments. It's the goals that he's scoring, and he is scoring goals and being really good at them too. And he should have more than 11 right now, because some of them had hit the post, and that's just unfortunate. I've been very critical of Caden Clark, the way he played, but I've watched him closely in the Chicago game and the New England game, and I found that I found him playing much better. I found him playing much better in the sense that he seems to want to set up, like, do those runs. But what happens, Elias, is that there's nobody passing it to Caden Clark when he's doing these runs. You will see him constantly, like, waving his hands, like, guys, left, I'm right behind it. And he's faster. He's a much faster, midfielder than those other defenders or left backs. But nobody passes it to him because either they don't see him or maybe they decided to focus more on the right-hand side. So I don't know if it's a CF Montreal thing. Again, probably copy paste what I said about Bryce Duke, but I don't know if it's a CF Montreal thing or maybe a change of environment again for Caden Clark that has already changed several times environments. But it's something has to change for him, because he should be having more chances. He is making the runs, but nobody's passing it to him, and it's clearly becoming infuriating. Yeah. He's continuing to hustle though. On the right hand side, Dante Seeley, man, I think you said it all. Honestly, Dante Seeley is, to me, yes, he scored a goal, which is great. But beyond all those goals, like, I don't like him at the right winger. I do not. I like him better as a right midfielder with a winger on top of him, because he can't be solely responsible for creating those chances as a right winger. I think he sometimes keeps the ball too long, or he'll take shots that are forced. He just needs to be I mean, he's the one that set up. Um, he's the one that set up that goal, that second goal, I think. But it's just he's really really good in the middle, I find. But yeah, and then as you mentioned, Oger Escobar and Henari Centric, when you see them together again, youthful ignorance, they really seem to be kind of trying to figure each other out, but also having fun out there playing with like no pressure and just happy to have minutes and be able to play in the big stage. And it's nice to see. It's very nice to see. You just will hope that they stay healthy and that they can give you a full 90 minutes so that you can actually make we can actually make a proper evaluation. Before we move on, I will say this though, Elias, and maybe you agree with me or disagree with me, but what a terrible game by New England. I mean,
Yeah.
what a terrible,
Yeah,
terrible.
no, it's
Because
not
when
good.
I
Was
spoke
not
to
good.
Tony Pinzone in Opwatch during the week, he was telling me how badly New England needed this, but that they were struggling so much with Caleb Porter. And
Mhm.
I was like, nah, but it can't be. I mean, it's New England. They must have had bad luck. He's like, no, it's really bad. We're struggling. You know. And I was like, okay, but Elias, at the 60th minute,
Terrible. Terrible.
I saw a particular play. I'll never forget this. I saw a particular play where CF Montreal takes it away from New England, and Joel Waterman just stands there for 15 seconds. It's Joel Waterman. He's not a natural midfielder. And I thought that the play had stopped. I thought somebody had blown the play dead because everybody stood around. And then you kind of see, and Joel Waterman, Elias is looking up like, where do I pass it? He's surprised. He's like, no, there's nobody around me. Where do like he has his choice to pass it? And that's when I realized I was like, New England has given up. They've given up. They gave up in the game. They gave up on their coach and they gave up on their play. The only one playing out there for New England was Carlos Hill. He was the only one trying to score goals. He got that late post too. But beyond that, the rest of the team gave up. And this is not a New England Revolution podcast. We're not here to talk about them, but it's hard to not notice when a team collapses in front of your eyes because we've seen CF Montreal do that in the past with Laurent Courtois and Hernan Losada. If I got to give any kind of credit to CF Montreal this season, is they've never given up. They've never given up, not visibly in front of our eyes. They've continued fighting to the last minute. But New England, they gave up. I don't know if you saw the same thing I saw, but it was yeah. And CF Montreal managed.
This is a team that hasn't won a game in MLS against has won one game in MLS since May 3rd. That one game was a win against Montreal. Besides that, they have not won since May 3rd in MLS. How Caleb Porter still has a job, I don't understand. It baffles the mind. He's either on a crazy contract that can't pay out, or, he's secretly the owner of the club. That's the only two options, because I don't understand how you can have the run of form that you've had with the squad that you have and still be employed. It boggles the mind. I've been using that a lot today, but my mind hath been boggled a lot this week. So that's just that's the cherry on top. But yeah, I don't know how he's still at the helm. Something tells me that they won't make the playoffs, and if that happens, then he's definitely gone.
Every reason to do. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why he's still there. Unless
It's strange.
at this point it's too late.
Yeah.
Unless you're just preparing for next season and you throw in the towel, but you shouldn't because you still have some stuff to play for. But no, it's unacceptable, the kind of level that they're playing at with the quality of squad that they have.
Well, let's continue being party poopers, CF Montreal for the rest of the season, and keep our heads down for the Leagues Cup as that's coming up on Tuesday night against I forgot what team it is right now,
Club Leon.
Club Leon. So we'll be watching that closely. I don't really care for Leagues Cup, but it is what it is. It's another opportunity to see CF Montreal play. But before we move on to Roses FC, the Roses FC game, we had the chance to sit down with one of their goal scorers from last night's game, forward Tanya Boychuk. And here's a preview. First question: the perfect score in diving or a game-winning goal?
This sucks already. There's so many factors. What game is it? Is it a final? Is it like a big dive? But I'm gonna go game-winning goal. Game-winning goal.
All right. Hardest defender you faced?
Mm.
It doesn't have to be Roses FC anytime.
You know what? I'm gonna give a shout out to my friend Julia.
All right.
And my teammates could also agree with this in practice. Like we make each other better. She goes really hard on me and I go hard on her and it makes us better.
That's awesome. Borscht or Putin?
Borscht or poutine? Borscht.
All right. Skier or Kut Bular?
Definitely the Icelandic yogurt skier.
All right. Christine Sinclair or Diana Matheson?
So I have to say Diana Matheson because what she's done with this league, like she's unbelievable.
100%. Most competitive teammate?
Julia.
All right. Player you will go on a cross-country road trip with?
Julia. We did one. Yeah, we just did a road trip like 2 days ago. So
Teammate with the best taste in music?
I'll say Lucy. She's always on aux, but sometimes it's not the best. But she does the job. She takes requests, so she's great.
Love it. Which teammate has the best game day fit?
You know what? Shout out to Haley. I think Haley always comes in with a great fit. Yeah.
Get it. All right. Last question. Random fact that no one knows about you, Tanya.
I sleep with the fan on. I don't know.
That's good enough for me. That was fun.
Everyone sleeping with the fan on is the way to go. So I approve this message.
Hey, listen. Thank you
I
so
run
much,
hot,
bro.
man. All right.
Hey, listen, Elias. I can't do a fan because I can't sleep with the noise. But I've heard a lot of
Some of
people
that white
that
noise, man.
yeah. Anyways, I grew up in South Florida, so we had AC. No need for fans, baby. Anyways, thank you so much to Roses FC for helping us set this up, and make sure to check out our Patreon tomorrow for the full interview. Dude, that was so much fun speaking to Tanya. I got to getting to know her. She is a very, very, very nice person and very, I think very mature for her age, and it was just impressive. But let's go ahead and get right into the game. So Roses FC won versus Calgary Wild FC 2-0 yesterday after two very early scores. It was a rotated squad, which is kind of a first. We haven't seen that much rotation. I did ask Robert about that yesterday. And yes, we're gonna get started about that. At the goal, we had Karpenko, and in the back line we had Capadonna, Whitaker, and Hill. Schenk as a left back, Monyard, Hess, and Roy as midfielders, Sauvé, Abdou, and Boychuk as the forwards. And yeah, as I mentioned, you can see that there's some names that we're used to seeing there that were not there. Most notably, Bibo, who took her spot. We are halfway through the season, Elias, for Roses FC. Do you think, and they're second place right now, do you think it was the right time for them to start experimenting with that lineup?
Yes and no. I was surprised for sure, but I also don't hate it. I think that having having a team like Calgary that you should be beating regardless, you can afford to rotate the squad a little bit. You can afford to see what's in there. You can afford to maybe feel a different starting 11 with some different profiles. Where Charlotte Bibo is also coming back from an injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
So having someone like Felicia Roy in that position do as well as she did, because I really did think she had a very solid game. Charlotte Bibo has a certain class about her that you can't really replicate. No. But Felicia Roy did a very, very capable job. And I think that's something that Robert Rosatoyo is looking at, going, maybe not necessarily playing at the level of someone like Charlotte Bilbao, but faithfully, doing her responsibilities and making sure that you're not, letting your partner down in that midfield. I really liked it. One kind of pretty significant standout for me was Claire Monniard, because honestly, I loved her game.
Huge, dude. Huge.
And again, we talked about how this team struggles sometimes to vary in attack. And yesterday, they were, again, both goals came off the press. Both goals felt very early season Roses, in that just the work ethic and the press won them the ball, and then their quality kind of finished it off in just like a very clear scoring position. But the fact that they were creating much more offense in a much more varied way than I've seen them do in other games. I mean, yes, Claire Monniard had a really good game, but I kind of want to highlight Latifa Abdul, who's been a goal scoring machine and kind of has been focusing on that. She focused on creating so much yesterday.
Uh,
And like, yeah, she is the player that is furthest forward, but I saw her drop in a whole lot more than I usually do. And I really do like that. I mean, it shows that there's kind of at least making an effort to vary the responsibilities and kind of combine with the midfield. But yeah, man, I loved the entire performance, and I think that you know rotating the squad like that, and then having the performance that you got, I'm super happy.
yeah, I think when I saw that rotated squad, um, I was surprised. I was like, "What's going on with
I was
Bibo?"
a little
Like, well,
concerned, honestly.
well, yeah, I was like, "What is going on? Like, why Monyard? Like, this is not what we've seen. Like, what's going on? Like, maybe I've just been out of the loop and there's a lot of injuries. I don't know, but no, they were on the bench. They just weren't starting. So I was like, they're in second place. They're still fighting for first place. So what's finally maybe it's that moment that they decided to let's change things up. And there were some pleasant surprises. Let's get right into it. So on defense and goalkeeping, what were some of your impressions based on what you saw on the back line?
Look, I mean, the fact that you have three young, talented central defenders in, you know, Cabadona Hill and Julia Lease, having all three of them that you can kind of play interchange. I mean, Lucy Cabadonna's played, I think, almost every single game this
Yep.
year. She's clearly Robert Rosatoyo's go-to like leader in defense. She is the general, and she kind of fits the profile for it. But having Stephanie Hill and Julia Lease kind of almost trading places is A, so good for competition, and B, I think it brings all three of them together even better because they're all, basically the same age. They've all played university sports. They've all had a very similar trajectory through their career. And I don't see a drop off in chemistry when one plays or the other doesn't. And I think that's the most important part when you have three central defenders who are more or less the same level is A, are they all competing and making each other better? And B, is there any chemistry concerns? And there aren't any. So I think Robert Rosa too kind of has a champagne problem every week of who do I start? Because you know for a fact that you're going to kind of reliably get the same thing no matter what combination you use. And I love that. I love that because that's how you create a winning club is especially when you have successful depth like that.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I thought I've been critical of Karpenko because I've always thought that she's a little
I love it.
shaky in the back
I know.
line and
We disagree on this, but I love the chaos, man. Bring on the chaos.
No, I don't I don't like it. Every time, even yesterday when she had the ball, I was like, no, but no, she I mean, look, she's getting better as the time goes, and she didn't give up any goals yesterday, but it was a very I thought I thought they had a easier probably day today yesterday because the front was doing such a good job of high pressing, and Calgary wasn't really adapting offensively to
No.
try to, and so they allowed the Rose FC to really kind of do their own thing and play up high and really catch on to those bad balls. Yes, did Calgary have their opportunities? Absolutely, they did. They had some really good opportunities, but at the end of the day, Campreco did have some solid stops that helped out. There was I remember one that I saw from far away that it seemed like it was a goal, but it wasn't finally. But they did have their chances. Calgary just simply didn't capitalize. But overall, I can't really say they had a bad game. I'm just kind of surprised that Whitaker. It seems like she's kind of taken a step back in the sense that she's less impactful in the game. I don't see her being as involved anymore. She sometimes seems to be making sometimes mental mistakes with the passes and setting herself up and everything. So it's kind of surprising. I know towards the end of the game, they brought in I forgot her name,
Smith.
Mara Bouchard on the right back, where she replaced Whitaker, and Whitaker went a little bit higher. But it still was. I'm a little surprised because she was such a important part of the buildup of the offense in early in the season, and I just feel like she's been taking a step back. I don't know if they reduced her role or simply she hasn't found the opportunities to move forward. but it just feels like she's become she's kind of taken a step back on defense. But let's move on to the midfield, which I actually had a lot to say because it was very up and down. What'd you think of Roy and Hill and not Hill? Sorry,
Hess.
Hess on the.
Honestly, we've given Charlotte Bilbao her flowers, and rightfully so. But I think Ali Hess is honestly just as important to this team, and she's kind of shown it. She showed it again on Saturday, where just the ground she covers is insane. And I still think she needs to improve on the ball. I still think that there's a couple moments where she puts herself in some weird positions. She played out of them, and like having someone like Charlotte Bibol next to you kind of does relieve a lot of that pressure because you have someone that sure-footed and that good in possession. That's kind of helpful. But Ali Hess's work rate and just how much she lets that front four press the ball that crazy because she can cover that much ground. It's so important and it flies under the radar all the time. And you know, she 100% deserves her flowers because this is another game where a lot of the stuff she did kind of was thankless, and it's every single game she's just quietly contributing, and I think she's a great example for any midfielder looking to kind of understand what that role is of the just of an engine of a pure just running engine, and I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I look, I like the way Felicia Roy played. I think she did a fantastic job of covering Bibo's ground and the way she played really low. I was surprised at Hess's play yesterday. I did not like it. I thought she had a lot of turnovers. I didn't look at the statistics
Mhm.
to see how many she had, but I felt like she gave up the ball a lot. I kept seeing it. I kept seeing number six, number six, number six is giving up the ball a lot. And I mean, luckily, I think some of them led to opportunities for Calgary. But it just seemed like she was a little bit out of her element. Maybe it was the chemistry going with Roy that they haven't played together that much that she wasn't fully. I don't know, but it just felt like she struggled a lot. And then they took her out. I believe it was Bibo that replaced her later on. And I remember from my angle, I could see Bibo really deep, like being a deep lying playmaker. And she made a pass, Elias, from my angle, that looked like it was going above the goal. But then you just see it beautifully curved to the left, almost at the Roses FC player. And I was like, I was stunned. I was like, that is a fantastic goal. Like, sorry, a fantastic pass. And it didn't lead to a goal. It just was just I think a wasted opportunity at that point. But it just showed the quality that Bibo brings from
Mhm.
the deep line playmaking position. But um, obviously only played a few minutes. I don't think she played that long, but her impact was right away because she actually had a clearance off the line after Karpenko did a terrible punch out that almost led to another opportunity, and Bibo really cleared it out. So that was a fantastic defensive awareness that from the veteran. But it's going to be interesting to see because I really, really like what I saw from Felicia Roy. I don't know how old she is at this point, but she's definitely going to be someone to keep an eye on to see how much more they use. 19 years old. Ooh, she's very young. So very interesting to see how she's played the rest of the season because I think she really, really gave like a very good opportunity. Now let's talk about the attack, okay? Because it was very interesting, as you mentioned. You mentioned Munyal, you had Abdul, and you had also our wonderful guest speaker, Tanya Boychuk, that was there. And what would you think? Because I think that the first few minutes of the game, they were very clearly impactful, right? They impacted a lot of the game. They obviously scored 2 goals because of the high press. But as the game went on, there's something we asked Robert post game. He said, you kind of took a step back the rest of the game. You were pretty much parking the bus after the 5th minute of the game. So what'd you think of the attack? How they went the rest of the game? Because they had their chances, Elias. They did have a further chance later.
This is also one of the reasons that the game felt very much like early season Roses because they were just very, very aggressive and they got the job done very early, and then they kind of put it in cruise control, offensively speaking. Um, they did like you said, right? They didn't do a whole lot to make it dangerous. I did appreciate that they were trying some stuff, but it all felt like, as long as we're still up 2-0, it's okay. As long as we're still winning, it's all right. So again, the intention is there, and I see that they're actively trying to work on stuff to kind of vary their attack, but I don't see enough commitment for it. And look, I don't think anyone's going to complain about a 2-0 win, especially with a rotated squad. You're now a point behind Toronto with a game in hand, and you're only playing them one more time this season, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe twice. I'm not sure, but I don't remember. But you're playing them again like very soon. So I think
Twice.
you're in a twice. Yeah, you're in a very good position in terms of like the table, and I feel like they have games where it works really well, but the games that it doesn't work, it's overtly void of ideas, right? So the second that and I want to go back to like the Halifax game from a couple weeks ago, where they again Halifax, who is in last place and you should be beating, but Halifax showed up super well organized once again, and there was just nothing. There was nothing that Montreal had. They had no ideas, they had no creativity, and you can only will so many goals before you have to create your own, and sometimes they're not there. Sometimes the intention or just the sheer creativity is not there. So I'm still like what I'm seeing, but the variety in the attack needs to be more committed, or else you're kind of just going to get those same games where teams are going to set up a low block or defend with everything they got, and you may not get a single chance on goal.
Yeah, I agree, and I do think that we sang praises to Magnard. I really was surprised, very
Pretty
surprised
good
at
game.
the impact. That she was physical, she was fast, she was very alert to the full time that she was there. Um, but again, it felt like it was her because Latifa Abdul did have her chances. She scored a goal, which was DVD goal, and it was a fantastic goal because again, it was her hustle, her pressing, and all that. But there were also opportunities where I was actually sitting next to Vincent Detouche, and we both were looking at the play because it was on our end, and she had a wide open Megan Sauve on her left hand side, just 1v1 with the goalie, and just decided to go for the goal while she had a defender in front of her and missed it. And I think Megan Sauve didn't get mad; she just kind of went back to it. But it was one of those moments where like you still want to see more creativity, as you mentioned, right? Kind of like surprising the defender. Calgary, again, as I mentioned earlier, didn't do. I don't think they did a good job of adapting. They should have maybe changed up their defense, added maybe more defenders. I don't know, but it really felt like they didn't adapt. And Roses FC had tremendous opportunities. I remember there was one when Laurie Thibault came in, and she also had on a high press a 1v1 with the goalie, and she had the wide open net in front of her, and she shot it straight at the goalie. It was like, oh, dude, I know obviously it's easier said than done there, but I mean, you do still want to see more creativity, maybe like more sure kicks and all that. But again, 2-0 win, we'll take it. But it still leaves a lot of questions about. I mean, do you want Claire Monnier to continue starting these games? Like, because that she
No,
took
but I
Megan,
mean, you've
so
shown that she's a really good option off the bench, though.
not starter quality for you. To me, it
Oh,
felt like she was starter.
I think she is. I think she's definitely in the conversation. But Megan Sauve does bring a certain, Sauve, Paquin, Boychuk, and Abdu kind of brought you here. And I think that now that you have that competition, that's one thing. But I don't think this performance alone is enough to go like, okay, she's starting now.
All right. So just
I
to
think
finish,
she's earned more looks, right? And then maybe over the course of like 2 or 3 more games, she may end up surpassing and unseating somebody. But right now, I think that the most important thing is just to make sure that she consistently puts in performances like that.
I personally want to see Claire Monnier start a lot more. I think she has the potential to bring that a difference in the game. But we'll see. We'll see what Robert saw, because he did tell us yesterday that some of these players did give him something to think about for the future games. So just to kind of finish on the topic here for Roses FC, mid-season for Roses FC, Elias, what is your overall thoughts for the first half of the season? Because we did ask the players and Roses what they thought. What was their thought on the first half of the season? What are your thoughts on what you've seen?
I'm very happy. I'm very happy with it. We talked about the creativity and the chance creation. that's really my only actual significant issue with the team, right? Defensively, they're all gelling and they're doing good. Midfield is solid. Maybe bring in some more depth, but that's an off-season thing. And going forward, obviously, you've got a lot of firepower. It's really just one issue, and the fact that if you asked us at the beginning of the season if there's only one thing that really needs to be addressed, that's a massive win. You're excuse me, you have control of your own destiny. You now are in the driver's seat. You're a point behind Toronto with a game in hand. You now control whether or not you win the league. And I'm thrilled with the position they're in at the start of the season. There was a lot of unanswered questions because you just don't know what other teams are going to be like at the start of the year. It's impossible to predict. But they've shown up. The work that they've put in, they haven't fluked their way into this position. They've earned it. They've worked extremely hard, and they have an identifiable brand of football, which is also super important. That you kind of want to create as soon as possible is a philosophy and an instantly recognizable, tactical and philosophical brand, and they have both. So the vibes of the stadium are really good. The kits look great. They've hit all their marks. So yeah, I'm very happy with where they are at this point in the season.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I think I echo what you're saying, right? I think I didn't know what to expect of the Montreal Roses when the season started because you inaugural season, a bunch of profiles, a bunch of players that we've heard or haven't heard of, and they just seem to be playing together. Elias, I don't know if you saw the post game video in their social media of them celebrating in the locker
That
room.
was very cute.
Is magical,
love that.
and you just see how
The
united
vibes are
they are
good
as a
too.
team.
Yeah.
They're good vibes, and even at the press conference, they put all three of them together. The coach and the two players that are being interviewed, they're not separate. They're all three together, and it's very. You can see that they talk for each other. They're like, we're gonna respond to the reporters' questions, and it's a very good vibe. They seem very united, and we hear it, Elias, in the interviews that we do with them. They really seem to identify, but more than anything, they identify with themselves, with the city, with the fans, and we asked that to the players yesterday. We were like, can you tell us a little bit more about your celebrations? And she joked around a little bit, Lucy Capadonna, like saying, well, we plead the fifth of, we don't want to say if we prepared for this celebration, but at the end of the day, they said we felt like we let down the fans the last game they came, so we wanted to give them a show. And again, it just shows that they understand the importance of having the fans go all the way to Stade Boreal, and it's a different vibe. You can feel it. It was a smoky night, but definitely something that you feel like they're kind of catching fire here in the city, and they're starting to like attract attention. There's a lot more. I see a lot more Roses FC shirt. You know what I saw yesterday, Elias? Just so you roll your eyes a little bit today. I saw an Inter
A Messi
Miami.
shirt.
Yeah.
I fucking know. They're everywhere, man.
I was gonna take a picture and
everywhere.
send it to you. Spot it.
God damn it.
They're everywhere. They can't go away. But you know what's funny? One last
I went to
anecdote.
Greece and I found one. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's it.
can't escape it anywhere.
He's everywhere, man. One last anecdote, okay? Last night, I was getting back home, and and my wife texted me. She's like, "Oh, I want some McDonald's." Like, I'm like, "Fine, whatever." I go to McDonald's and I sit down. I start punching in the order. As I'm punching in the order, I see a group of girls that come in with their Calgary Calgary Wild shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, these girls they just came from the game, like me. They just came from the game, and I was like, and I started like chatting with them. I was like, hey, how you guys doing? Great game. And they were like, well, it wasn't such a good game for. Anyways, so I'm not gonna say the whole conversation. Just to say they were super, super kind, and it was odd that I ran into them at the McDonald's, but they were such nice people. Just an odd thing that happened to me after the game. Yeah, so I think that does it for today's show. I think we pushed it a little bit today. Thank you so much for all those that stayed with us throughout the whole night. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. We hope you enjoyed tonight's show. As always, the podcast will always be free to listen and watch on all of our platforms. Make sure to check out our Patreon page for exclusive member content and all of our social media platforms for more content. And follow my accounts as well as Elias's account on X, Blue Sky, Anywhere for daily updates. Big shout out to all of you who joined the Patreon this week. And thank you again to all of you who tuned in tonight. And see you next week for episode 234 of The Ball is Round.